Hi, everyone, and thank you for tuning in. My name is Jasan Gonzalez-Cruz. I'm a PhD candidate in the Department of Natural Resources and Environmental Sciences at the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign. Today, I'm going to talk to you about virtual transdisciplinary collaborations in disaster relief and resilience contexts, specifically with community autonomy in mind. So not always, but a lot of the time, disaster relief and resilience initiatives tend to take a top-down approach, or maybe they're participatory in nature, but still grounded in externally designed solutions. The project I'll be discussing today emerged out of a virtual cohort challenge in the Program for Innovations at the Nexus of Food, Energy, and Water Systems Educational Resources, better known as INFEWS-ER. The way the cohort challenge worked is that students from a wide variety of disciplines and institutions all across the US were gathered into a team and equipped with transdisciplinary training modules and advising in order to come together and work towards building something useful for disaster relief and resilience, specifically alongside our community stakeholders in Cataño, Puerto Rico. So although working within the confines of disaster relief and resilience, our cohort was actually given free range to explore our partners' needs, our own skill sets, and our mutual interests. It's important to note here, we began this cohort challenge in 2019, and throughout this process, Puerto Rico experienced an earthquake swarm, the onset of the global COVID-19 pandemic, and of course, hurricane season. So this was truly a period of compounding disasters. And what became apparent to cohort members was that Caras con Causa, our partner organization, was already doing a lot of amazing work around sustainability, community development, even citizen science, a lot of amazing work. So the question then became, how can we as a cohort enhance what is happening on the ground? How can we tap into initiatives that already exist and make them even stronger so that the community can continue to practice autonomous agency and feel empowered by their own solutions? What would a virtual process that builds on community organizing in disaster relief and resilience even look like, right? We had no idea. And this is where community mapping came in. So Caras con Causa already had a lot of excellent data available regarding citizen science projects and things like their student distribution. We compiled this data alongside federal and local level data to place their data in conversation with information on social vulnerability, flood zones, Superfund sites, things like that. This yielded maps they could utilize to do things like assess vulnerability hotspots for their student population. But we didn't stop there because it's not enough to just hand over a map, right? Courtesy of our team member, M&A Fadon, we created a virtual introductory course booklet, which could be used by Caras con Causa to teach their students how to produce maps like the ones we made, so that in that vein, mapping capacity is increased and the community can make maps to better suit their future needs. And naturally, upon completing this process, we engaged in a reflection exercise with our community partners, which produced a really rich set of lessons learned for our team. For time's sake, sorry, I'll focus on two major takeaways that I view as key to DRR work. But real quick, I'll make a plug. If you are interested, we have a paper currently in press with the Journal for Global Environmental Change that you can read to learn more about our project and other additional lessons learned. For me, the trickiest thing about stakeholder engagement is what can be called the participatory paradox. As researchers and practitioners, we want to engage the community. The more opportunities there are to engage stakeholders, the more appropriate ideas are. There's better buy-in, a slew of benefits. But, and this is especially true in DRR contexts, the more participatory a project, the more burdened stakeholders may be by participatory activities. And this is heightened in digital spaces where things like Zoom fatigue have to be considered. So participation can be good, but how much is too little? How much is too much? And where is that line? I obviously can't answer this question for anyone, but it's something our team struggled with in hindsight. Even with a set of scheduled stakeholder meetings organized in advance, like the ones we had, it's important to regularly check in with your stakeholders and one another. So asking questions like, is this still a good time for a meeting? How can this meeting be maximized? Does the community's perspective of the project timeline match the researchers' expected timeline? I think the importance of reflexivity cannot be understated here or in the questions that you ask, and not only after the fact, but throughout the entirety of the collaboration. So we ultimately learned that collaborative work balance cannot be predetermined even when the project is co-designed, but rather it has to be an iteratively evaluated process throughout a project. Only then can the team, stakeholders included, set boundaries and hold each other accountable to them. And really quickly, I just want to touch on a related lesson regarding reflexivity and DRR specifically. As members of a virtual team working on DRR, we embody a psychological distance from the disaster context we're working within. And that's super, super important to consider because, as one of our stakeholders so eloquently put it, disaster is an easy definition to look up in Google, but when you experience it, it's different. And it's because of that distance that it's important not to enter your research with a preconceived notion of what the disaster in focus is. For us, upon conversing with our stakeholders, we realized, yes, disaster in Puerto Rico includes COVID-19, earthquakes, hurricanes, floods, but it's also contextualized within an atmosphere of political corruption, colonialism, financial precarity. So disaster in Puerto Rico cannot be boiled down to one thing. It's a combination of things, and that nuance isn't immediately clear without stakeholder engagement to guide what the disaster in focus should be. I think that's all I have time for. So really quick, I want to give a shout out to Caras con Causa, whom without this work would not be possible, our team advisors and our funders, NSF. So thank you very much. And I look forward to any questions, Q&A. Thank you.